Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So, this is my freshman year of high school track and field shirt. I'm fitting back in it, man. I'm getting nice and fit. So, I'm happier these days. I appreciate you guys very much. But I do have the SuperUnited Croatia. This is the Blitz portion, and this is round number 10. This is Alireza Firouzja versus Wesley. So, all of my people that are coming from the Philippines, I would say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from France, I would say Merci beaucoup. Anybody who is coming from Iran, I will say Hailey Mamnoon. If you guys are ready, homie, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. All right, so we got the move E4, we got E5, all very standard open stuff to this point. Knight to F3, we got knight to C6, bishop to C4, bishop C5, and then we do have the move D3. This is the not so quiet at all Giuoco Pianissimo variation, which is Italian for very quiet game. We got knight going to F6. So we have like all the typical standard stuff up to this point. You know, we're going to be seeing some kind of maneuvering and some preparatory moves. We got the move C3, making sure that we got a little bit of, you know, a little packet right here for our bishop in case things get too heated. We got the move D6. We got castles by white. We got the move A5. B4 and B5 is definitely a very strong idea for white, so we're just making sure we prevent that with A5. We got rook going to E1. We got castles by black. We got bishop going to G5, H6. Bishop drops back to H4. We do see the move G5. Bishop sets back on the G3 square. Now, this is definitely a different idea. Sometimes, instead of seeing the bishop come out, you will see a knight kind of maneuvering in this fashion. And you'll see like knights kind of sitting here. This is just an alternate type of an idea. We do see bishop going back to A7. We got knight up to A3, bishop to G4, and then we do see knight to C2. Now, one of the major ideas that white has in these types of structures is pushing the D4 pawn. Sometimes you see it just immediately come out with just D2 to D4. Sometimes you kind of see like a build-up where you got D3, and then at an opportune point, you know, you do see the move D4. It just kind of depends on how you want to do it. Bishop drops back to H5. We got the move A3. You know, like I was saying before, we are trying to push D4, and then maybe after like pawn takes, you would kind of have a hole on the B4 square in some situations. So A3 is just making sure that we don't have any of that knight B4 stuff going on. Rook goes to E8. This is black's attempt to try to slow down that D4 idea, because if you push D4 here, pawn would take, and you would actually be hanging your E4 pawn. And anybody who has played E4 before, they know how important it is to make sure that you protect this E4 pawn, because it is a very, very important pawn. B4, we got the move queen to D7, and then we do see bishop B5, and this is pinning this knight down to the queen. So it's making things a little bit interesting. We do see bishop dropping back to G6. We got pawn taking A5. The interesting thing about bishop dropping back to this G6 square is that, I mean, it does kind of add pressure to E4, but, you know, D4 is not happening really soon. And the bishop was actually okay, you know, on the H5 square. So it kind of wasted a move just a little bit. But like I said, we do have this situation here, you know, where we have taken a pawn seemingly for free because the knight can't take back, because you're going to be losing your queen. And then, you know, you're going to be like, why did I even play chess to begin with? We do see queen dropping back to C8. We do see A6. You know, if you have weaknesses in your position, which white does here with these double pawns, you know, you do want to try to use one of those pawns dynamically to try to get rid of it so that you can have a more healthier pawn structure. And what better way to do that than to push A6? You absolutely cannot do this, because you're just going to be dropping this knight with a nice fork. So, you know, you're really kind of, you know, under some pressure in this position here. We do see rook going over to D8. We see pawn taking B7, queen taking B7, and then we do see the move A4. And I mean, this bishop is really not going anywhere anytime soon. Also, you do have a dynamic pawn, so a lot of the play for white is going to be centered around trying to maximize that advantage. We do see knight going back to E7. Bishop goes down to C4. We do see C6. We got the move A5, and like I said, this is a good idea. You know, there isn't like a lot that white really can do in this position. You know, their pawns are kind of, you know, blocking their pieces are kind of blocking these pawns right here. So you really can't like rip the position open like that. This bishop is in a good spot to kind of protect f7. So it's not like white is really making a breakthrough. So like I said, one of their major you know, pluses is that they do have this outside completely passed pawn. So that is definitely what white should be thinking about. Knight goes to h5. We got knight going to e3. Queen slides over to c7. We do see knight going to g4. And then we do see knight taking g3. And we have actually reached a position. There is a very, very killer move that white can play here. It was actually not found in the game. It is a very, very hard, if not impossible move to find. So if you find this move, you either cheated or you are just, I mean, you're just too good, bro. I don't even know what's going on. So if you want to pause the video and try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay, cool. So the crazy thing about it is, I mean, I didn't see the move. You can kind of like be intuitive and be like, well, this move kind of seems like it's there. But I honestly didn't see a follow-up to the move, so I kind of threw it away. You really have to like be calculating this string of moves very, very deeply for it to make any sense to you. So if you did not get the move or you didn't get the follow-up after the move, like, I do not blame you at all. It is a very, very hard thing to do, and it is actually not what Firouzja plays in the game. He actually plays pawn takes g3 in the game, which is definitely not a bad move. Obviously, your piece is taken. You want to kind of take back and restore material equality. But in this position here, it is actually suggested heavily to take knight takes h6 with check. Now, like I said, obviously you see this check, but it's like, what do you do after the check? Because, I mean, you're not going to be able to take the knight back like next move because the king's going to go to g7 and stuff like that, right? Well, it's actually a knight sacrifice completely. You're pretty much throwing the entire kitchen sink at black. And like I said, I really don't feel like really too many people are going to ever really find this. This is the line that it's giving. The king is going to come down to g7, of course, because you're going to have to try to attack that knight. You got knight taking f7, bishop taking, king taking, and then you do see knight taking g5 with check. The king will probably come down to to f6, and then you actually have h4. So you really never take this knight, almost ever. It is stuck, so you are going to be probably getting it back at some point, but you have to be seeing this like 5 moves ago. And it is a very, very hard thing to really be finding. So like I said, I mean, this is some insanity, bro. I don't even know, man. So it's no wonder that he didn't see that. He probably kind of calculated it, but then like I did, threw it away at a certain point. Like, no, that can't work. So this is truly Stockfish playing this. Like I said, we do have this position here. We got the king coming down to g7 because now the h6 pawn is hanging. We got bishop going to b3. We got the move h5, knocking your knight around. Knight g comes to h2. And we definitely at some point want to get this knight back into the game because h2 is not ideal. We do see the move f6. We got d4 finally coming in after 27 moves. Here it is. We got the move c5, trying to keep things as closed and, clamped down in the center as possible. We got pawn takes e5, hitting the queen. So you want to kind of move that. The queen goes over to e2. We got c4, which might not seem like it makes a lot of sense because, like, why am I just throwing a pawn away, right? Well, actually, after bishop takes c4, you actually are able to now put a lot of pressure on this c3 pawn. So you've given a pawn to get a pawn. We got queen going to c6, which is absolutely loading up on this pawn right here. We do see knight trying to get back into the game with knight to f1. We got rook a to c8. We got knight 3 to d2, and you pretty much are, I mean, you're kind of like tied down quite a bit if you are white. But I mean, everything is everything. You definitely have a nice advantage. You just have to realize it. We do see the move g4 clamping down on white structure here on the king side. We do see rook going to be rook a to b1. We got rook down to c7. We got a6. Like I said, you do have this outside pass pawn over here. So most of your ideas and most of your strength is going to come from trying to, get that pawn to score a touchdown. Like, let's do that, bro. Do the touchdown dance. Knight goes to c8. We got bishop to d5 hitting the queen. At some point, you were going to have to give up you know, you were going to have to give up this, you know, this pawn. Black was going to be forcing away from you. So we do see queen taking c3. Rook goes up to b7. We absolutely do not want to take here because the pawn is going to take and it's going to be knocking this knight out of the way. And I mean, you know, you're just really good to go. Queen is probably going to go to a6. Stuff like that. Just some ideas. Knight goes down to d6. Rook takes c7, queen takes c7. We got knight up to e3. So everything is held and protected from the white side. And like I said, they do have this outside pass pawn. So it's not like white is just absolutely winning. I mean, they're definitely for choice in this position. But it still is going to take some technique, especially against somebody like Wesley. So we got a rook going over to b8. Knight e goes to c4. Knight goes to b5. You really don't want to trade in these positions because white having extra material and especially having that outside passer, you know, you definitely do, you know, white is just going to get too much rolling if you do trade pieces down. So that's always something you want to kind of stay away from. If your opponent is in a much better position, you know, generally trading down, if they are ahead by some material, trading down really just kind of simplifies the position for their end game. We do see queen going to d3, queen going to c5, trying to be sneaky. Bam. So we can't allow that. So we do see knight going to e3. We got knight going down to d4. Queen goes to c4. Yes! Trade queens. You really don't have anything else you can do other than trade queens, but you want to kind of do it on your own terms. So we do see rook going down to b2, attacking that 7th rank. Queen takes c5, bishop takes c5. We got knight d to c4. And we got rook to b4. There was definitely oh, never mind. That was something else I was gonna say, but let me go forward. We got rook to b4, and this is just like adding a little bit of pressure to this knight right here. We definitely want to probably try to come behind that pawn at some point, or be in front of the pawn, so we can stop it from promoting. And we do see the move king to h2. Now, something I did want to mention in this position here, we did have a rook to a2 as a definite option for black, just to get behind this pawn to try to prevent it from going any further up the board. And so since we did not actually see that, you know, we do have the ability to go rook to a1 in this position here. And this is basically just in-game knowledge. You know, when you are in an in-game, when queens are off the board, you're starting to kind of look at, like, you know, pawn promotion and trying to do stuff like that. A lot of the fight, you know, is trying to understand, like, what should you be doing with respect to these pawns. Rook going to a1, being behind this pawn is definitely going to put black in a defensive position. You're going to have to try to blockade this pawn somehow, maybe bishop a7, rook going to b8. You can't really do that there, so bishop to a7 is the only possibility in this position right here. So basically what you're able to do when you put a rook behind a pawn is basically have your opponent use their piece just to block your piece, your pawn. And just basically rendering the piece just kind of useless. So that is definitely something that we could have seen, but we didn't. Like I said, we saw king to h2. We got bishop back to e8. Rook goes over to c1. Or we're hoping at some point we can either grab this bishop or we could try to take over this open file. The bishop goes to a7. We see knight up to d6. And this is a very, very real problem. You have multiple things that you have to worry about in this position. The knight obviously taking d8 just, you know, off top. That is definitely a thing. But then there is also rook to c7. And this is always the threat in the position. We see bishop going to d7. And then we see rook to c7. And it is in this position that Wesley so resigns the game. There is nothing that you can do about one of these bishops dropping. So, I mean, you're just pretty much going to be out of there. This one is currently pinned to the king. And this one is just completely hanging just out the clear blue. So that is super, super bad if you're in that position. So in light of that, I mean, you really can't play this against anybody that's a legitimate strength in the world. So like I said, he does resign the game here. So I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Let me see. Magandang umaga to my people in the Philippines. Kamusta na aking makaibigan? I appreciate you guys very much. Anybody who is coming up from France, merci beaucoup, mes amis. Bonjour to you. I appreciate you guys very much. Anybody who is coming from Iran, I will say salam, chitori. I appreciate you guys very much, and I'll see you guys next time.